What's up, everybody? This is Freddie, and we're back in my horror corner. I hope you're all having a great day, great week, and just want to send nothing but positive vibes and energy out there. And if you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. I'm trying to put out these videos as much as I can. I know my last video I said I'm going to be doing once a week. I just happened to find myself off today, the house to myself, and I was going to review this movie next week, but I have a passion for it, so I'm ready to dive into it. With that being said, if you're ready to head down to West Virginia with me and have a crash course in audio mixing and editing, as well as hear some drunken flute playing, let's get into it. Today, I want to go ahead and talk about this awesome little movie. It doesn't get brought up a lot, and when it does have a small following for it. Anybody that I've talked to, it's either two responses: never heard of it, or dude, I freaking love that movie. And with good reason. Nothing happens in this movie. Nothing really happens. Nothing overly exciting. Nothing overly dramatic. There's like, I don't know how to explain it, but I was talking to a few people on Twitter, and I just love it. And I think a lot has to do, my admiration for the movie has a lot to do with the fact that this guy just went out and made a movie. Like, I'm over here just making silly little movie reviews. This dude just fucking said, fuck it, let me go do this. And he came up with a pretty little good story, you know? And he just went out there. He directed it all, edited it all, produced it all, and it's a very small, self-contained movie with about 3 or 4 people at the most. So we have the director, Josh Chris. I looked up some of his stuff on IMDb. He's got 2 other movies, one before this, and it's like a documentary. And the other movie he just recently came out with called The Caretaker. And this movie as well is streaming on Amazon Prime. You can go check it out. And this is a spoiler warning because I'm going to spoil this movie. So go check it out first. And if you can remember, come back. Then we'll watch this together. We'll go through this together. And let me know what you think in the comments, please. Anything. If you disagree, if you agree, if you don't think I know what I'm talking about, just please leave a comment and I will respond to it as soon as I can. So with that being said, let's jump right into the plot. So we have Mark Klein, and he is part of an OCD group, and he's a technical writer in Washington, D.C., and he's just tired of it all. He wants to get away from the city. He says that he wants to get away from the people. He wants to get away from the traffic and just, all the loud noises. It probably gets to him having OCD or something. It's probably very frustrating for him to live like that. And I can completely understand him wanting to leave the city out into the countryside. I would love to do that. Me living in a freaking hot desert city myself, would love to go somewhere nice, isolated, and green. But at the same time, I don't know, because I've watched a lot of horror movies, and this is how horror movies start, especially with this one. So we have Mark Klein. He's driving up to his new home, and if you watch Bad Ben, it actually reminds me a lot of the opening scene of Bad Ben when two of these people are just driving up to his house, and he pulls up, and he's talking about how he just bought this little house. He's done living out in the city, and he lets out this very exciting yell. He's like, I did it! I did it! And part of me feels like he is channeling the fact that he's making a movie, and he's using that excitement because it's very genuine when he yells that. He's like, I'm fucking doing it! And so he moves out to this little town called Anole, West Virginia. He wants to move away from everybody, and it's about maybe a few nights or so, maybe a week or so, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, when he wakes up in the middle of the night and he hears a freakish scream, and he wants to investigate further on. And essentially, that is the movie. There's a lot of repetitive scenes. I'll get into that right now. There's not a lot more to it. There is, but in a basic sense, that is basically it. It's a haunted house movie, but I absolutely fucking love it. So anyways, it starts off with him driving up, and he explains that he is in an OCD group, and he is making these video updates for his group. He wants to send them, he wants to let them know that he's doing good, and a lot of them doubt that he'll be able to make it through the winter. He does this little segment where he's chopping wood. He's like, yeah, there you go. See, I can do it. And he goes into town to pick up a card mail, and they sent him a greeting card, one of those Hallmark cards. And this is the very first hint of something I'll go into later on. He's very appreciative that he got sent this card, but he calls out 2 people on the card. He's like, oh, really? Claire and David? You couldn't say nothing more than best wishes? So, I mean, when he says little things like that, I find it a little cringe. Like, I'm not saying this movie is perfect. I absolutely love it. There are flaws in it, but you know, he's love and hate. There's a lot of love and hate in that part. So, anyways, he gets this card and he explains more about his video updates. He also drops that he is on a medication called venlafaxine. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I looked it up. It's like an antidepressant. So you know, this guy's got some issues. He's been through some stuff. So we get a video update from him about like 4 in the morning. He's obviously very tired. He's a little distraught, and he talks about how he woke up to some type of freakish fucking scream in the middle of the night. And what I could find about this movie, somewhere I was able to find and read that part of this guy's inspiration for this movie. I think somebody might have told me this on Twitter, so I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt. But somewhere he said that this guy's inspiration from this movie came from that scene where he woke up and it's just like some freakish yell in the middle of the night. And I can't imagine living in this fucking house in the middle of freaking nowhere and all of a sudden waking up to some deathly fucking howl and you're not even sure. And he's going on in this video update. It's like 4 in the morning. He said that he's been researching animal calls, animal growls and stuff like that. You know, noises that animals make, and he can't pinpoint exactly what type of animal this was. And I thought that was very clever, very smart. I don't know if I would. I don't even think I would have done something like that. So he wants to try to recapture this, and he has this idea. Well, I have an audio recorder for my papers when I'm writing them. Let me set this little device outside the window, and I'll record whatever happens. And the next morning, he's going over the audio, and this is why I brought up the little joke at the beginning, because a lot of this movie is the screen is focusing on the audio clips, the audio software program, and it's just a quick crash course if you guys were wondering how that all works. So he's going through this, and he sees a few peaks. Some of the first few peaks are just like owls calling, but then he sees one peak around like 3 o'clock or something, and it's like chopping noise, like doom, 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 like somebody just chopping at a tree, and he's just like, the fuck, it's weird. What the fuck? Like, why would there be somebody chopping up trees around here? And it's just odd. It even gets a little louder. So by the second night, he's like, well, let me see what happens on another night, and it's the exact same thing. It's like 3 a.m. and it's freaking chopping. It's like boom, boom, boom. So at this point, he's very freaked out. He's not sure what to do. I believe he's talking about he's going to pay a little visit back to Washington, D.C., and he's going to meet up with his OCD support group. And that he feels this might be a little good for him right now because he's just been a little wary about the things he's been hearing and what's been going on overall. So one of the next updates we get is him sending he's like straight up sliding into these DMs, like a video DM of this girl, Claire, who I mentioned earlier. And he's just talking to the camera, and it's a personal video. So, hey, Claire, I just wanted to let you know, I've been thinking about you ever since that night. I've been in such a great mood, and don't worry, nobody's going to know that you and I went out for drinks. This is like a personal video, and maybe we had a little too much to drink, and you agreed to come visit me. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, dude, like, you probably she just probably felt obligated at this point, because when she shows up, it's like, it's pretty apparent that she is not interested in him in that way, and he is, and I feel for that guy. I can understand that he has a little crush on somebody in his support group. They just don't happen to feel the same way. They might have felt obligated to come. He was telling them about his haunted house. I think she was interested in the house more than him. So anyway, she rolls up to the house. He's super happy. You can already tell right off the bat. She said, "Man, do you have to be filming this?" And I just didn't like this person. There wasn't much to be fleshed out anyways, but you don't like my boy? Come on. Anyways, so they have like a nice day together. It's not recorded, but he's recording her as she's going into the bedroom to sleep. He also brings up how, she insists on having her own bedroom in my haunted house. Well, you can tell this fool got mad. He thought he was gonna get it, and nope. Denied, dude. So I just thought that was a little clever thing right there. He does these little remarks which do become very cringe later on. So we get another video, or the next scene is him being woken up at like 3 in the morning, and it's him and Claire in the room, and she's kind of freaking out because they're hearing chopping noises again. And this time it's a lot. There's like 2 or 3 different sets, but like the second or third time we hear it, it sounds a lot closer. Like it's getting closer every time somebody chops. And she's freaking out. I mean, with good reason. And here comes one of the funniest lines, one of the few funniest lines in the entire movie. They're hearing this chopping noise. She's freaking out, and he just kind of says to himself, or just generally out loud, like, but who would be chopping wood at this hour? And she just replies, somebody with an axe. And I just started cracking up, dude. That was just such a legit response, and I absolutely love that part. And anyways, so the next morning, actually, she's freaking out at this point. She's talking about how she wants to leave. She's like running down the hallway. He's trying to be logical, like, how are you gonna drive? It's 3 a.m. You can't see anything down this forest road. Just wait till the morning. And he says that he's filming her while she's knocked out finally. And he says that he had to give her like 2 volumes. I just thought it was kind of weird that he was filming her. But he does say something, I don't know if he says it here, but he says one of these stupid lines. And I'm sorry if he doesn't say it here, but he says these things throughout the movie, little like hints of shade. And he's like, well, it's not like you'll let me touch you anyways. And I'm just like, dude, get over it. Come on, bro. I don't even want to get into that now. So next morning, she dips, like right off the bat. And when he was recording her sleeping, right before she left in the morning, he was stating that he hopes that she will stay and they can still finish this weekend together. But nope, that was just out of the question. She is gone. He's upset. So he goes outside and he starts recording. He's like, well, I wanted to make this video to show you that you were fucking worrying for nothing, but you were right. Somebody was chopping a tree down here and it's just not too far away from the house. And he's, again, throws some shade out there. He's like, I mean, I didn't think we weren't being threatened directly. I don't see why you had to leave, but dude, get over it. So anyways, when he's looking around this chopped tree, he does find like this little necklace, like a little locket, and it says heart you. And I just thought that was very creepy. Like, why would that even be there? So one of his first things that he wants to do after this is he wants to call the sheriff and explain what's going on. Tell him he feels that there's somebody either messing outside of his house, they're trespassing, And this sheriff, this is like the first glimpse that we get of the sheriff. Not glimpse, but this is like the introduction to him and his character that I did not like. He was probably my most disliked thing, and he only comes on 2 phone calls. Yeah, 2. And I fucking hated this guy. So what he tells Mark is like, dude, it's probably just some drunk dude on a binge. Just if something serious happens, just call us back. Really? That's what tax money's paying for? But anyway, so he does this little audio thing, right? And the next morning he's reviewing his audio, seeing what he captured, and he sees a little peek in the audio, and all of a sudden he pushes play and you hear like a flute playing. And we get one of the other best lines in the movie. And that's crazy. Could you imagine though, like, you're hearing noises first. You're hearing chopping, right? And then you go and review your audio clips, and it's a fucking somebody just playing a flute. So anyways, he's listening. He's like, music? Why would there be music? What kind of drunk plays a flute and plays it well at that? I don't know. To me, that was such a solid little line. And I love that. Like, you need to have these... Like, I feel like horror should be like 80% horror and 20% comedy, especially in movies like this. Like, that's like the perfect little combination, I think, and it seems to work very well because there are little tiny lines, like little quotes in this movie where it is pretty funny. He says like things and almost reminds me of Bad Ben in a sense that I would love to cover that one day. So anyways, after he hears the music, he's really freaked out at this point, and he decides to go and buy a gun. And I like this scene a lot. This is probably the most exciting scene in the whole movie, which is saying something. He's out there, he's kind of like, hiding the gun, making his little video update, and he like pulls it out. And you can tell he is pumped holding this thing. Like, I remember I shot a gun when I was younger, like in my teenage years, and I remember just fucking feeling badass, dude. Holding this fucking big old 357 and just shooting it out. So I can totally, he's all pumped when he has the gun. He's like, yeah, man, nobody's gonna fuck with me now. And he's never shot one, he stated, but he told the guy that sold it to him he did so he can get it to sell it to him. I thought that was pretty funny. He said he read the directions. This dude, oh my god, he's so hilarious, I think. So, yeah, he buys his gun and he's ready. He feels a little more secure. So he does his audio recording again. And I'm sorry that I bring it up like this. I said it earlier in the beginning. This is a very repetitive movie. It's a lot of just, he records audio, we listen to it the next day, he does little ramblings, and, next scene for the next day, and rinse and repeat. So that's essentially why I said not a lot happens, but I just fucking love it. So anyways, next day he does he does his audio thing again, and it's a fucking flute playing again. But this time it sounds just like the last piece of music that he plays, and he starts to think, okay. And I really enjoyed this part right here. I felt like this was very well thought out. It wasn't some dumb written movie. Like I said, he did try to put some stuff in it. Like he adds to the backstory of. Oh, okay. So I'm jumping ahead. So he hears the flute again, right? And he starts thinking hey, this sounds just like the shit I heard last night. And the night before, he pushed the record button. I don't remember the exact time, but I'm going to just throw out a number. He said he pushed the record button at 12 o'clock midnight on the dot. Okay? So 12:00:00:00:00:00. And the next night when he recorded and caught the second flute recorded, he pushed it at 12 o'clock on the 16th second. So between the first two clips of when he pushes start, there is a 16-second gap from midnight and midnight at the 16th second. And I know I'm not doing it justice. If you watch the movie, he'll explain it a lot better than me. But I just thought this was very cool. So what he does is he kind of just ties these two pieces of music together, and he cuts that 16-second gap. And he's playing these two audio clips at this over each other, and this piece of music goes it's like one song played in two different nights at the exact timing though. Like I said, I don't do it enough justice. He really goes into it a lot better than I do, but I fucking love that part. I thought it was a very clever part, and probably what adds a lot to this mystery is this flute playing. Where is this coming from, man? So anyways, he kind of starts trying to make logic of it. And that's one thing, he is that type of guy. He needs to fucking, find a solution. He needs to find the logic in it. He even states that, well, this could be paranormal, but I don't believe that. He just won't accept that. I enjoyed that part of his character. The next night, he wants to hear it live. He's like, okay, I'm going to stay up this time. I'm not going to record. I'm going to be awake. He has the timing down through the recordings. All these have been at the exact time. So he kind of has a understanding of when the flute should be playing around 3 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock, whatever time, So it comes later on at night. He's waiting. He's got his gun. He's standing by the window. He's kind of whispering, and he's counting down the seconds. He's like, okay, it should be, if my calculations are correct, there should be a flute playing in 5, 4, 3. And when you think you should either hear chopping or the flute, the fucking phone just rings on cue. And that is subverting expectations. Fucking David Benioff and other dude that wrote Game of Thrones. I digress. I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, he subverted expectations, because I was legit expecting, chopping or a flute playing, but I was not expecting the fucking phone to ring. And I thought that was very cool. He goes to pick it up. He's like, hello. Nobody's there. He hangs up, and he gets a clever idea of doing *69. And I thought this was really cool, actually. The last phone call that registers was one from way earlier in the day from Washington, D.C. So this phone call did not even register at all. And I thought that was very cool and creepy. The next scene, he's doing a video update for his OCD group. And honestly, I think at this point, I don't know if they're even responding, or if he's just doing this for himself, for his own sake, for his own sanity. Because you can tell that now he's starting to get a little unhinged. And can you blame him? So next morning, he's Next scene is him setting up some type of camera, and he's talking, he's narrating, saying that couldn't sleep. Could you sleep after what you heard last night? And he drove into town. Hour and 15 there, hour and 15 back to buy a game cam. Game cam is something hunters use to hunt down, not hunt down, but just to help them find animals at night. Some bullshit like that. Anyway, so he gets this game cam and he's talking. I love this part right here because we do get a little bit of the backstory. And like I said, this guy was trying to make a movie. Like, he was legit trying to put some type of like feeling and story in this, and I love it. So when he goes into town, he's talking to the clerk, and he just mentions, "Yeah, I just moved to Anoli, the little town he's in." And right away he says, "You live at so and so house, And the guy's like, "How did you know that?" So we find out this backstory. The clerk tells Mark that the clerk's sister-in-law and her 5 kids lived in the same town as Mark, Anoli. It's a very, very, very small town. And she knew of this older man and his schizophrenic daughter that lived in that house that he's in right now. So we don't get too much of it, but apparently what happened was the lady was friends with this old guy, and she hadn't heard from him in a while. So she drives up to his house and check up on him, and she finds him hanging from a fucking tree, dude. And the schizophrenic daughter is MIA. And he's a little mad because when he found this out, he says he even called his realtor or whatever, the person that sold him the house, and he was kind of like, why the hell didn't you tell me? And there's like a good explanation. She says that she was working through some other agency and that their house was so cheap just because there was a death in the family. So he even says technically she's not lying, but I get you, Mark. That is bullshit and shady as fuck. Whatever you gotta do to make a quick buck, right, lady? So anyways, we get this little exposition about this daughter and the schizophrenic daughter and her dad, whatever. And Mark also says about when he first moved into the house, he didn't think much of this, but he had found some ripped picture, and it's just a picture of who he believes to be the schizophrenic daughter. So anyways, he sets up his game cam. He's really excited about that. He hangs it from his tree, and fuck, this dude can't catch a break, dude. It goes missing. Oh man, I feel bad for you, Mark. So yeah, this next day it's fucking gone, and he's hella mad. He calls the sheriff again. I can't with the sheriff. I fucking got so annoyed with the sheriff, and I feel for Mark. And he does a really good facial expression in this scene, but he's trying to explain that he bought a game cam and he set it up, and the sheriff's just like, why did you buy a game cam? Why did you set it up in front of your house? Did you lock it up? He's just being like that, Even like the whole time he's on the phone, the cop, he's like talking to people in the background, like, I told you I don't like chives on my bagel, something like that. Like, what the fuck, dude? And the whole time Mark's like, hello, like, dude, can you pay attention? And the cop just pisses me off. He's like, look, what's your name again? And this expression just says it all. Like, I'll try to pause it or try to get a picture of it, but he's just like, Mark Klein? And like, dude, like the way he just let that out, I just felt for the dude. Like, he is so annoyed that nobody is listening, that he cannot get any help. He's absolutely out of the loop on this house and everything that's been going on. He's hearing fucking noises. His shit's getting stolen. And for him, that warrants enough reason to call up the sheriff to say, hey, somebody stole my camera. But all the sheriff's like, well, dude, just look, give it a day. Call the pawn shop down in town, in the other town, and we'll ask the lady Joy if she's picked up anything. And fuck small town cops if they're all like that. I don't know. He just came off very dismissive, rude, whatever. So what does Mark do? Buy another camera. Boy, man, my boy Mark got money. So he goes into town again, and he sets up this camera even higher. Like 20-something feet. He has to go get the ladder. And he explains how the camera's working, that it should take pictures in 3 consecutive shots. And the next day when he's reviewing these photos, he's like, wow, it took 27 pictures. And the first few photos is of him turning it on, climbing down, and walking out of frame. But then at night, it cuts to a photo at night, and you see like a silhouette of like some dark figure. It's like 3 different silhouettes of a dark figure. And then, I know I didn't mention this earlier, but earlier in the movie, when he first moves into his house, he's on a little stroll of the land, and he makes a video update about some cat skull that he found hanging off a tree with the letter B carved on it. And that was very weird, but this does play into it right now. So the game cam takes the 3 consecutive pictures of him coming down the ladder, and then it jumps straight to a night shot of this silhouette of this dark figure. And it's like 3 different shots of this figure, and you can clearly see it. Like, I'll put it up. You can clearly see there's a shadowy figure right there. And the next set of pictures is it jumps from that location in front of his house all down like 1.5 miles into the forest where he saw that cat skull. And it's like a picture of that at night. And the craziest part is the timestamps. That's what's really throwing him off. Because these timestamps say this all should have happened within a minute or two. That this camera should have went from point A, 1.5 miles down to point B, and back within not even like a minute. It's just an absurd amount of seconds. So he's kind of just freaking out. I mean, for me, dude, that's it. That would be it. Okay, dude. Obviously, something just took the camera off, took it out to that fucking skull picture, the skull cat. Like, I don't know. My mind would be going in so many different places. I would have just booked it back to DC and try to put the house around. I mean, this dude, he I don't know why he stays there, but he's slowly starting to go crazy, and I fucking love it. We can start seeing that. He starts drinking a little bit to try to help him sleep because he's starting to get so stressed out, and you really feel for him, you know? So at this point, you know, he's running out of resources, and he looks to seek help from online forums. And I kind of like this part. He goes and he finds this one forum. He signs up. He says he puts his pictures out there, his audio clips, and, you know, everything he's been experiencing. So his first set of responses are like, "You're full of shit. You're lying. This is all fake." But he does get one lady that does hit him up asking for a little bit more info. So we'll go into that a little bit later. But the next scene, he's walking into his house and he's narrating. He said, "Okay, I just walked into my bedroom and I saw that my game camera was on the dresser." And I was like, "That's weird. I usually put it away." But I noticed that this is actually the first game camera that I bought that went MIA. And somehow it's just sitting on this fucking dresser right there. And he knows it's the first one because the strap looks like it's been like chopped off. You know, and he was hearing chopping noises. So that dude, get out. I was getting goosebumps. Like, get the fuck out the house at that point, homie. There could be somebody just fucking waiting for you. So he reviews the game cam footage, and this part is really cool. And it also goes into this timestamp thing. You get one picture, and it's like in this hallway at the bottom of the stairs. The next picture is at the very top of the stairs, and this is all happening within split seconds of each other, like you'll see in the timestamps. So the next picture from the hallway to the very top of the stairs, and then the next picture, which happens in a quick split second, is at the very end of the hallway. Then it jumps all the way back out into the forest, and this is probably the most random part that I still am having a hard time trying to figure out what this means. What I don't know. So anyways, the next picture is of this poor dead cat, and it's not the cat skull, it's an actual dead cat, and there's like this little index card next to it, and it just has the most random writing on there. It's like, "Bunny by Vandal, most beautiful tart, killed her." Like, what? What does that mean, dude? So he's just so fed up. And the next day, he's talking about he went online to check his emails about that forum that he went, and he had like 40 something messages, and he breaks it down, and he's like, you know, out of the 40, I got 38 that are just telling me I'm full of shit. I got one that's just not even relative. But then the last one he talks about is the lady that messaged him asking for more information about like the previous owners of the house and all this. So he let her know about, you know, the story that was told to him from the clerk about the old man and his schizophrenic daughter. So she replies saying, "You know what? I believe that you are experiencing the spirit of not the old man, but potentially the schizophrenic daughter there. I believe she's passed away." She's trying to explain to him that she doesn't think that the spirit is harmful. You know, you could tell this lady is probably into that type of spirituality, and she believes that it's a female spirit, so it's probably just curious with a male, But he's kind of just like, okay, she's telling me not to piss this thing off. It's been making my life miserable and making it a living hell, but I'm not supposed to piss it off. Mark, I feel for you, dude. So after this little back and forth about the lady that was helping him out, we get this very angry clip, and I think this must have helped him like set off the rest of his emotions, because after this he is drunk after this next clip. But we get this very angry clip, and he is sending a little fucking video DM to Claire, hella fucking mad about, hey, I saw hiking together, God forbid you guys can come out here if you want to hike. I have a bunch of fucking land, but not also do I have to see you guys all hiking. I have to look at not one, but 2 pictures of you and David holding hands. And he goes into this little rant about how he was led on, all this stuff. I didn't like this. Look, Mark. I don't know what to tell you right there, brother. She wasn't into you. Just let it go. You don't have to be a little fucking, I just hate that. Because, like I said throughout the movie, he was saying little cringy stuff. It was not like you'll let me touch you anyways. And this is why I said in the very beginning of my video, when he gets the greeting card, and he's like, oh, really? Claire and David, you couldn't say anything more than best wishes? Like, that's like a hint. That was like a hint for me. And after seeing it all, I was like, okay, this dude, like, I think he just perceives things a lot different, in my opinion. So that's why I feel like these videos he's making for these OCD groups, I almost even question it if he's sending them at this point, if he's just doing them for his own sake. So anyways, after this little angry fucking heartbroken video, it's pretty much the last night we have at this house. He is drunk. He is pretty much drunk. He's taking his pills. He is so fucking fed up. He's like, he starts hearing the flute playing, because it's like 3 a.m. He's standing by the window. He's got his gun, his whiskey. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And he starts freaking. He's like, that's it. He like loads up his gun. And you hear him like, just going down the stairs. He goes outside. He's like, it's like, oh, okay, what do you want? And you just start hearing like a few gunshots. Then it just cuts out to complete silence. Complete silence. From him yelling to the gunshots to just nothing. And we're just left with the camera sitting up in his bedroom, staring like in night vision, shooting out the window, when the camera just happens to tilt up and like tilt over, and that's it, folks. So that is it right there, guys. That's the whole movie. It ends like that, and it leaves you open to interpretation. Now, I feel like I personally didn't even do this movie justice. Like, I urge everybody to just go watch it, because it is for me, it is a very entertaining story. And like I said, I think most of the reason why I enjoy this a lot is because the fact that this guy just went out and did a fucking movie. I would love to do that. I would love to be a part of making a movie one day. And this dude did it. And he went and did like another movie. I think it's The Caretaker. I brought it up earlier. So some of my favorite scenes in this movie are just those little parts where I brought up earlier with the little quotes. When he's like, oh, I didn't even say this last quote. Shit. At the very end, when he's right before he pops off and he runs off shooting in the middle of the night. He's drunk and he's like, keep playing, ugly. I just thought that was so good. That quote, who will be chopping wood at this hour? Somebody with an axe. Those are like my favorite bits of the movie, I would personally say. Another part that I really enjoyed was like the audio, like looking at the audio stuff, just mostly because I'm learning how to edit right now, video editing. So that was a little intriguing to me. My biggest dislike for the movie would be the sheriff, because I just did not like that character at all. I don't know if small town cops are like that, very dismissive, just don't believe you. I think they even resent this guy. He's like, oh, yeah, I remember you. You're the guy from DC, right? Like, I don't know what's up with that. Just like some shade at him for no reason. Because he's some concerned fucking person living in this new town, and he's being fucking tortured. Not tortured, I'm sorry, but he's being fucking harassed in the middle of the night. So what do you expect? So other than that, it's very hard for me to nitpick my dislikes. I mean, it's obviously not a perfect movie. I feel like we do get enough character development, or just enough background on this guy, just how he is, how he talks, how he's perceiving things. But other than that, there's just not more to it. But it still was great. I liked it, and I hope you like it too. I mean, It's only like an hour and something. You should go check it out. So anyways, that was Leaving DC, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time making this review and talking about the movie. It's a personal fucking favorite of mine. Highly recommend it. And happy spookies.